Добро утро, почитувани гледачи. Мене ми е многу драго што од ова денешно издание сум јас дел со прекрасни гости заедно со нас во студиото. Неговата екселенција, амбасадорот на Соединетите Американски држави, Бејли и прекрасната господја Бејли. Добро утро за нив се разбира и едно големо добри дојде од Сител Телевизија. А на самиот почеток јас би сакала и ним да им се обратам. Your Excellency, Ambassador, welcome. Miss Bејли, also it's a great honor to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you,
Well,
Elena.
first of all, our name is I love Macedonia. Јас сакам Македонија. So it is inevitable that the first question will be about our country.
Right.
So tell me, to what extent you feel Macedonia as your true home?
Well, over the last 4 years, and we've just hit 4 years here, we've really become quite comfortable here. And that's because of very warm people. Irrespective of people of different ethnicities, different political views, they all are very warm and friendly to us. And that's one thing wonderful. They're very hospitable anywhere we go. So we feel very comfortable. At the same time, we're here representing the United States. That's what we do at work, but on the streets too. That's what we are. So we always know that as comfortable as we feel, at some point we're going to go back home to the United States. But I think what we do is we carry with us lots of little bits of tradition, memories, smiles on people's faces. And so that makes us feel welcome here. And a little bit of you lives in us.
Miss Bејли?
Yes, I feel at home here. I've always known that it's not my home, but I feel totally at home. I have my Pilates class, my art class. I know which market to go to, all those things. So it's really been an enjoyable time here.
Our program is very dedicated to keeping the country's tradition, including the national cuisine. So, will you tell us, how do you like Macedonian cuisine?
Well, I know that's a very important question in Macedonia because every single person asks me that question.
That's right.
So, and I could go down a long list of food items I like and some, very few, I don't like quite as much. But what I think I like most about the food is not just the taste, the preparation of the food. It's the whole package. It's the tradition. It's the culture behind it. The cheese tastes a whole lot better when you're eating it on top of the mountain where it was made. The rakia tastes exceptionally good after coming in from a long hike. And the ivar is just a little bit better when you've peeled a few of the peppers yourself. So it's all that tradition that goes around the food, around the hospitality. That's what adds to the enjoyment, adds to the flavor even.
And Ms. Bејли, what about you?
I totally agree with what you said, and I love the debates over whose ivar is a little better or whose rakia is a little zingier, and that's what makes the food here so enjoyable.
Also, this question is more for you. Has any of our national dishes been on your table at home?
Oh, yes, all the time. We try to mix. We mix flavors of Macedonia with flavors from Turkey, where we also lived. We mix American style. We do it.
Right. So, for example, we had the Deputy Secretary of State. He was here and we had an official dinner. And we started off with a lot of Macedonian meze. And you could start with that. We had more American entree, and then we finished with a Turkish dessert, a Turkish quince dessert with kaymak and other things. So it felt Macedonian, but it was actually a Turkish dish.
When friends and relatives from the United States came to you as guests, where do you take them?
Well, I'm usually the first person in charge of that. So I usually start with a little trip down to the Plostad and having a nice coffee, of course, there. And then we walk over this old stone bridge to the Charshia. A tour of Sveti Spas is usually included because it's so spectacular. Then if we have time, a hike up Vodno, a trip out to Matka. We usually don't have time to see everything we'd like to see.
And tell me, what are your favorite parts from Macedonia?
Well, of course, we love going down to Ohrid. That's always a favorite. And that if we have time with guests out of to get them out of Skopje, we'll take them down to Ohrid. We'll try to stop somewhere along the way, maybe in Yanche. We have a favorite spot there we like. So get them out, get them out and see the mountains a little bit. I think that's really, really important. And in Ohrid, we will always, there's a place that we find very special, which is Sveta Bogorodica Periveta.
Hard to say, but yes.
which through the embassy, we had a large project there restoring the frescoes, but we were also able to get to know the staff who were doing the restoration work on the frescoes. And in fact, when my parents were here, we had a big lunch with all the staff, and they just loved it. We also try to do something else, which is get them to see a little bit the work we do, if we can, as diplomats. So we've taken them to projects that the USAID has sponsored. We took them to a basketball camp, one of the high school students who had been in the United States, and he came back and he ran a basketball camp for children with disabilities. So seeing some of the kinds of way we engage with Macedonians is also something that they wouldn't see otherwise.
That was in
Radović.
Yeah.
Your Excellency, Ms. Bejli, this one is delicate. The next question. Since February is the month of love, would you mind sharing with us your story? Where did you meet? Was it love at first sight?
Well, I'll start.
Okay.
We actually met in Dakar, Senegal in 1988. I was on my second tour in the Foreign Service. My first tour was in Bangladesh, and it was KP's first tour. Now, I don't know whether it was love at first sight, but it was pretty quick.
Yes.
And we had a great time in Senegal. We got to travel some in West Africa. We went up to Timbuktu, quite a memorable trip.
Yeah.
And then
I was transferred. I was also a diplomat at that time, and I was transferred to Kingston, Jamaica. And at that time, you know, no Facebook, no Viber, no WhatsApp, and the phone calls were expensive, very expensive. So we thought maybe getting married would be the right thing to do, and it was.
Right.
Was it love at first sight for you?
Well, oddly enough, yes, it was. I walked in, I saw this man, I thought, I'm going to marry him.
Oh.
And I didn't know why I thought that, because I didn't know him. But sure enough,
there you are.
It came true. It does happen.
Right.
Oh, great.
And then I joined KP in Kingston. I went on a leave without pay for about 9 months.
He was my spouse
I was the spouse.
I was the cultural attaché.
It's a nice story, a very nice story. Your Excellency, I was so excited to listen to your statement on the fight against violence against the woman. You demonstrated your major support for a woman. So tell me, who shaped your personality as a true gentleman?
Well, my mother would be really glad you said that about me, so I hope she's listening.
We will
my
send
parents.
her.
My parents.
Yeah.
They taught me respect, honesty, kindness, and I think all those things, a parent invariably conveys those kind of deep values. And as much as all those sort of traditional things, the manners, it's important that when we talk about a subject like violence against women, that traditions not be used as an excuse for certain forms of unacceptable behavior, violence against women, abuse, and other things, which sometimes get masked in traditional behavior when it really doesn't have any place in the world. So I'm glad those basic values were instilled in my parents, but also an understanding that there are principles out there that those traditions can't mask. I think that's important.
Thank you very much about that. I
And
was impressed.
she's a big supporter too. So
Tell us.
Yes, absolutely.
Why not?
For several years here, I've been involved in helping produce some Women's Day shows, and one of the themes is abuse against women. And it's something that cannot be hidden anymore, and it can't be kept below our radar. It has to come out. Communication is important, so.
We must fight together.
We have to fight together.
Right, everywhere. And this isn't just about, of course, Macedonia or even the United States.
Also, you support children, young, talented individuals, and I hope that in Macedonia are many of them. And we all know how much quality education matters, but I want to know about your experience. And I want you to tell me what helped you the most to come what you are today.
That's a pretty big question. I would say, well, I was lucky. I did get a good education. I was fortunate enough to have those kinds of opportunities. But I would say it's also really important to look at education not just in the sense of school and grades and classes and doing well on the test. I think young people can learn a lot about themselves outside of the classroom and get that some life experience and some experience in dealing with other people. Even if they take a summer job that seems like menial labor, you're going to learn a lot about life that way, and I think it's important to do that. And I think it's always important in education. I think a lot of going to school is not just about learning the facts, but learning how to learn. And young people today, most of them are going to be doing jobs, or many of them are going to be doing jobs that don't exist right now in technologies we don't imagine. So they're going to have to learn new things throughout their lives. It's not like they'll get the job in their 20s and they'll just do that job, because at some point that job's not going to exist. So learning how to learn is really important. People ask me what my profession is. And I'm a diplomat. That's basically the only job I've ever had. But they go, no. What did you study? I studied history. And you can say, well, that has some relation to it, but it's helped me how to look at a new situation and how to look at situations in different ways. That's what history taught me, not the facts of who won what battle or who won what election.
Tell me, Ms. Bejli, I want to know about your engagement in Macedonia. We heard a lot. We know you were involved in the breast cancer campaign with Borka, and also you hosted a unique fashion show in the Museum of Macedonia. Tell us more about that.
Well, I believe that textiles tell a story, and that the collection here at the Museum of Macedonia of the traditional costumes, beautiful accessories that go with them, that's telling your story. It's telling the story of Macedonia and its people and its ethnicities, and I really enjoy it, and I wanted to highlight that in some way. And so I, with the Dobrodošla Welcome Center, organized a fashion show with other designers here and asked them to create things that brought in a little bit of that tradition. And people loved it, and people that came to the museum said, oh, I haven't been here since I was a child. And I was really thrilled to bring them back to one of your real treasures. And it really worked out, and I feel very, very privileged and proud to have worked with the people I worked with and brought people back.
And also about the campaign with Borka?
That is essential to me. My family has a history of breast cancer in it. It's so important to me that people everywhere in the world know about it, know what to look for, they're aware of it, they're not ashamed to go to a doctor, they do the things they can to prevent it, they get treatment. And Borka's doing some really good work in raising that awareness, and I'm glad to be part of it. So,
mandates come and go.
Yes.
Probably it's the hardest thing, but how does it look to move from one to another country, and how hard it is to move away and leave all behind?
Well, I always thought moving would get easier in this career, that each time I moved I would get better at it. And there is an aspect that I'm a little bit better at than I was before, and that's organizing things, doing the packing. The logistics, I'm a little bit better at. I'm still not fast at doing it. But you're absolutely right. It's very hard. It's very hard to leave places. You grow quite attached to them. You grow attached to your routines. We live in, we love living in Skopje. It's a small place in many ways. Everything's 10 minutes away. Yes. I find that's fantastic. You don't find that very much in the United States.
Yes.
A commute in Washington, D.C. could be well over an hour each way. So we've come to become very comfortable here. We have friends here. I have my tennis buddies. I have people I go running with, people we go hiking with. And suddenly, we were doing some of that this weekend, and it felt very, it was sad. It was sad because we were thinking, this is the last time we're doing this, and it'll be a long time before we see these people. So again, as I said at the beginning, we'll go away with a lot of Macedonian culture, friends, and so forth with us.
Ms. Beјli, for you?
It's the same. It's bittersweet for me. And I keep saying to myself, well, if I hadn't taken this job and this career with you, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have had this opportunity. So I hold on to that and say, I'll take these memories with me. I'll take these little bits of things with me. I'll take some Ivar with me, of course. So,
yeah.
Yes.
And I'll take some of the great things that happened here. There were some moments that were not easy in the last 4 years, mainly not easy for the citizens of this country.
Yes.
But I leave also knowing that our partnership is only going to grow deeper as North Macedonia becomes the 30th member of the NATO alliance. That's a really big deal. I think it's a very big deal for this country. It will be a much more secure, self-assured, and I'm sure more prosperous, more democratic country. And I think that has happened, I think, in the last 4 years. There's still a long way to go. Not everything's perfect, but people have a reason for optimism, I think.
Your Excellency, Ms. Beјli, it was great honor and great pleasure to have you here with us this day, for me and also for Сител Television.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Elena.
Се надевам уживавте, продолжуваме и со останатите содржини. Останете со нас.